This is TWiT.
Well, let's see here. Xiaomi, in the realm of devices we know actually exist, Xiaomi unveiled a pretty decent haul of hardware announcements. The Mi Mix 4, which happens to be the first Mi Mix in 3 years. And yes, I mean, the trend du jour is the in-display camera. We're expecting to see one on the Z Fold. And the Mi Mix is right there too. The Mi Mix 4 has an in-display camera that they call the Cup, also known as the camera under panel. So that's how they're labeling that, I suppose. Xiaomi says that the area. So when it comes to cameras under the display, my understanding is in order for the camera to shine through the pixels, A, the pixels have to be deadened, they have to be turned off. And B, usually what they've done is that's like a lower pixel density there so that there isn't as much stuff getting in the way potentially of the camera. So, you can get a better quality picture. Xiaomi says they're putting a 400 pixels per inch area in front of that camera, which they say it makes it virtually invisible. Of course, they say that. So that remains to be seen. But I haven't seen any of these in-display camera devices in person yet to really know for myself kind of what it results in. Or if I have, I can't recall. Whoa, got some dogs going nuts right now. Have either of you, and what has been your experience as far as that's concerned? Matteo, maybe you go first.
Yeah, I got to play with some in-screen or under-screen cameras at, I believe it was MWC 2019, and then later at IFA that year. They weren't finished products, but they were being demoed within the industry. And I wasn't too excited by them. They're not great from what I saw, and from having seen other people go hands-on with a few devices by Oppo and Vivo and others, whilst it is viable, it's not a great output compared to a dedicated dotch or notch in a camera and having a clear selfie camera. It depends on what the use case is and how important image quality or video quality is to the people using that phone. Because for some people, they may decide that, and if it's not great, they won't go for it. But then again, for things like TikTok and any social media use where you are using a selfie camera, maybe that quality in the content is not as high of a priority. So we'll see how this goes. What I think the next step will be is if there is any sort of effect that comes from the under-screen camera, how long will it take some of the social media apps and services to have a filter to make it look like you have the cool phone with an under-screen camera? We'll just have to wait and see how long that takes, because for some people, this Xiaomi Mi Mix, especially in Asia, will definitely be a status symbol. To have a Xiaomi Mi Mix device is there. So if you can have an under-screen camera filter to make it look as if your content has been filmed on that, will actually be boosting your status within the social network. So lots of dynamics going on here, but apart from that, the Mi Mix 4 is a true flagship. This is the sort of aspirational device that Xiaomi goes all out on to see how things go and which bits will then trickle down to their more affordable devices in their product portfolio.
The affordable range pricing, converted to US dollars anyways, on the entry level is $970 for the top of the line ish, somewhere around there. So pretty affordable for premium range.
Yeah, Xiaomi's been hitting real hard on that price performance. Yeah. My experience with this kind of tech is even older. The last time I kind of saw some of these demos, it was like an LG display tour where they were looking at these kind of transparent OLEDs. And the conversation surrounding them the engineering challenge is really profound. I mean, think about how much work we go through on cameras to maximize the acquisition of light. And here we're putting display information in front of this camera. And I'm kind of torn on it. Like to your point, Matteo, I wonder, so many people rely on that selfie camera for so much of their documenting activities, family memories. I mean, we can kind of write off, those TikTok kids, but those TikTok kids are doing phenomenally intricate camera work and editing work, and they're doing it on a silly little social media app. But some of the stuff that gets produced on these short form video sharing sites is remarkably proficient. This is kind of like where people learn how to use their cameras and become the next generation of filmmakers and storytellers. So I guess, I mean, for me and Jason, I'd kind of like to throw this question back to you too, is do we really think consumers are that bothered by notches and widow's peaks and punch holes? And does the notion of an uninterrupted screen, which I value as a nerd, and I like to consume content, and I hate when my game is cut into by a notch or a hole punch, are there more people like that who value the media consumption experience, or are there more people who are going to be bothered or worried about having the better selfie camera and who would just live with the screen interruption?
I mean, I think especially where we're at right now with notches not being full bars. I mean, at least on the iPhone, I guess it's still like a full bar, but on the majority of Android phones. Yeah, on the majority, that's right. On the majority of Android phones, if there is a notch, it's usually, either a cutout or a tiny little teardrop or whatever. It's pretty minimally invasive. And I would guess that the majority of everyday people probably couldn't care less as far as that's concerned. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of part of the phone and it does the thing they want it to do. I don't know that I've really encountered many, like people in my family that are complaining to me, I love this phone, but it's that notch that's really ugly to me. I doubt most people really care. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if the technology gets to a point to where that notch goes away, I don't think people would be upset about that, but the trade-off can't be there. It can't be, well, we took the notch away, but your selfies that you take, the majority of your photos or selfies, actually don't look as good as you're used to them looking. People aren't going to be okay with that either. So, but there's only one way to get there, and that's to iterate, and that's what we're seeing.
Oh, here. For sure. But I think generationally, I think that is something that people would notice more aggressively than we techies might think. Someone's going 2 years on a smartphone, 3 years on a smartphone purchase, and they're kind of holding out in that kind of longer time frame. I think there would be an expectation that like, oh, I'm going to buy this new phone and supposedly the cameras are better. Why do my selfies look darker or smudgy or smearier? Yes. To me, that would read immediately as an issue.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. Can I have a moment and a bit of a sad trombone to remember the selfie cameras that used to pop up out of smartphones up to 2 years ago?
Yeah.
That whole generation of hardware innovation has disappeared. Sadly, that was the solution to that problem.
What was the solution to that problem?
Well,
I see what you mean.
You didn't have a notch, you didn't need an under-display camera, and you got often some better selfie cameras than you would have in a dedicated hardware section that popped out of the phone.
I have to
Oppo's Reno 2 series.
I had so many great video shooting and video calling experiences on the LG Wing. That just last year was a great pop out selfie camera. It's still kind of held to some older tech designs and keeping the whole front screen totally uninterrupted.
I have to imagine phone makers are super happy and not looking at all with fondness on the pop-up camera, just from a mechanical standpoint. I have to imagine it was far more expensive for them to build the mechanical, pop-out camera than it is for them to do some of the other things. And that's probably part of the reason why they continue to explore.
Before we leave this article, can I just call out something here that The Verge has written? Because we're talking about the Mix 4. And I think this is going to be a reasonably priced phone. But this one paragraph. The camera system centers around a 108 megapixel Samsung HMX sensor, suggesting similar or identical performance to the slightly outdated but still pretty good Mi 11. The Mi 11 is a current generation phone, and there aren't a whole lot of 108 megapixel pixel binning sensors out on the market. I'm wondering how that's already outdated.
Life moves really fast. If you're, what is the, what is the Ferris Bueller?
I just watched that movie and now I can't remember the quote.
What is it? Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
That's like what it's all about. That the $1,000 iPhone 12 has a smaller, it's a 1/2.55 inch 12 megapixel sensor, and we would never hear about that camera sensor being outdated. Where Mi 11 is at the bleeding edge of HDR pixel binning technology. It is competing directly against the bleeding edge of Samsung Ultra phones. But the Mi 11, I think that camera is a little outdated now because it's months old. What are we doing?
When was it even announced?
Talk about average consumers using $900 phones. This is silly. That's silly.
Look,
and I have to say that sensor is a fantastic sensor. I have it in the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro 5G, which is a late 2020 phone. That 108 megapixel sensor is very, very good and will be for years. Xiaomi have been updating their software with the latest versions of MIUI, and I really disagree with that statement. The other thing is they're also not mentioning that it's the Mi 11 Ultra that they should be talking about, not the standard Mi 11 in that context.
Ah, interesting. Look, this phone was announced 5 months ago. Okay, it's DED dead.
It's old news.
But that really is a testament to kind of like where we are in kind of technology coverage circles, but also in like technology enthusiast circles and Android circles. We're so accustomed in the world of Android to hearing about the latest and greatest, and that's always like within a realm of like a couple of months. Like like all of the energy right now will be around Samsung's foldables. That's happening tomorrow, and there's going to be a lot of energy around this. But that energy is going to be completely gone in like a month or 2 months or whatever when the Pixels happen, and then the energy will be there. It's like we're addicted to this constant, ongoing. Every other month, some big major announcement that now that's the marquee thing to pay attention to. Look over there. This one, that's old. That's stinky.
I just, and to Matteo's point too, it's I just take that little bit of a bristle because camera technology doesn't cycle like that. It really doesn't. Our improvements to camera performance and optics and sensor design. And when we see these advancements, we kind of just shrug. And then you don't ever really get to the meat and potatoes of why that made the camera better. But then we'll get these like ridiculous camera showdowns like, oh, well, see, what you need is this phone with this kind of HDR and the megapixels. And you're like, you completely missed the point. This is not what's making your photos better.
I think that's a point that Google has been making for years. The
right.
Pixel cameras have not changed it from a hardware perspective significantly for about 3 years, yet the camera performance on the devices has been improving.
Yeah,
for sure.